Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator news and updates, and we got a little bit of news for you coming into the weekend, so stick around. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. Starting with our news today, we have Military AI Works previewed for MSFS. We will soon be able to have military aircraft added to the AI traffic inside of the simulator. John Young and Pete Beebe have been working for months on getting the old FSX AI traffic models into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, it does look like that each of them are being fully updated and to obviously reflect the texture requirement for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't think that they would be bringing the old FSX traffic in just in the default textures. That would stand out like a sore thumb. Now, they are starting with just the F-35As from the 495th Fighter Squadron, but I am hoping... I guess this one actually has me a little bit on the confused side. Is this going to be something that's just going to be around military bases, or are we going to be seeing a ton of military aircraft on, international airports? Because honestly, from my standpoint, my personal opinion on that is actually I don't think that I would like that very much. One of my big pet peeves is like when I go to load AI traffic right now. You'll see F-35s and F-15s or whatever kind of military traffic that you have currently loaded inside the simulator spawning at, jetway terminals and things like that. And it's a real immersion breaker. So I really wish they had included a bit more information on how this package is going to work. Is it just going to be standard, again, AI traffic? No matter where you go, you might just see some more military aircraft. Now, in the air, obviously, that's not a problem at all. That'd be kind of cool, seeing the jets fly by, or at least, being able to, make one out. But if they're going to have them on all the bases, like this is clearly in this image, that's clearly a military base, and that's perfectly fine. I would love that. It'd be nice to see, for example, for me, my hometown of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, it would be absolutely dope if I could see F-35s parked out on the tarmac, or eventually A-10s, if that model gets brought into this package. Davis-Monthan is an A-10 training base. So it's sort of got me on the fence. It will be really cool if it's plotted correctly, but if it's just going to be generic aircraft, I think it's going to be one of those things that you're going to have to be able to select in and out. If you are flying a fighter aircraft and spawning at a military base, then this package is going to be great. But like I said, if you are flying general aviation and you're in a Cessna 172 parked next to an F-35, that could be, I don't know, that could be interesting. I guess we'll see what happens as this comes to fruition. I totally support the developers' work. I hope it works out, and any kind of effort to make the sim more realistic and to add more traffic that we would expect to see in the real world is obviously welcome. So definitely not trying to put it down. It's just one of those ones that's got me wondering what the end product is going to look like. And sticking with AI traffic, we have something that we've been looking for quite a while here, and that is more previews for Just Flight's FS traffic. Now, much like the military air traffic, this is obviously adding more of the general aviation and airliner traffic that we're expecting to see at the airports. Everything from 8K resolutions down to HD textures, but from the A220, A320, we've seen a bunch of different screenshots of multiple different types of aircraft. And this is really going to very much so help with those of us flying for VATSIM and IVAO and using the model matching. So all of you who really enjoy that multiplayer experience and the real world ATC experience, you're going to have an even more immersive time while actually being able to see the aircraft on the tarmac and in the sky. Now, here's the thing that's really a big kicker about this, and this is what separates this kind of AI traffic from any of the others, is the control surfaces. You're going to see moving flaps, spoiler animations, aircraft effects, landing gears are actually going to be down when they're on the ground. I know, weird, right? So all those things that are breaking the immersion, at least from my perspective, with the current AI traffic, as you roll past a 747 that has no wheels on the taxiway, we won't hopefully be dealing with that anymore. I have been really looking forward to Just Flight's version of this. I know we've seen a couple different iterations of AI traffic, and all of them have definitely have their pros and cons to them, and I'm sure that this one will as well. But Just Flight has done such a fabulous job with all of their products thus far. I really have not had many complaints with anything that they put out to date. And so this is another one. I mean, we know the team is skilled. We know that they put a lot of time and effort into everything that they put out. So I can't imagine this is going to be any different of the scenario here. These screenshots are very, very interesting. And I'm kind of, look at this. So we know that we're going to have some sort of UI interface that's going to allow us to control what we're seeing. Being able to boost the traffic right there on the toolbar without having to go into the options menu, that's going to really help a lot, especially for people who have to be, fine tune their FPS based on location. If you have a moderate or maybe a low end system, something that's a little outdated, starting to show its age, this is really going to help you a lot while still giving you the opportunity to very quickly on the fly, see what I did there, enjoy the experience of some AI traffic. Now, if you took a look over here, this looks like to me that we are using real world flight plans. Now, if that's the case, that's going to be freaking awesome because much like we see with the AIG traffic controller, for those of you who are familiar with it, it sounds like they're Just Flight's integrating their own system based on what this looks like. I mean, it definitely, you got your aircraft manager, flight plan manager, route manager. Now, I don't know if that's going to be live traffic. I don't know if, you're going to be able to match that up with what's currently flying in the skies around the world. But I don't necessarily think that that's a real big requirement. I know for some, you want to be able to see that. There it is. Boom, 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 boom. A380. Anyways, I can't wait for the A380. But I think it's going to be really awesome just to be able to have that real world experience, even with just the flight plan. Seeing the aircraft take the same routes that we do, it's going to put you in a position where you can actually experience AI traffic flying 1,000 feet underneath you in the opposite direction, as you cross paths or as your, traffic lanes merge. Coming into the patterns, you're going to start to see more aircraft in front of you and behind you, thus increasing that, hey, I got to get the hell off the runway sense too. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward. The Just Flight AI traffic has been the one that I've been waiting for the longest. Aerosoft, I think they did a great job. They certainly, put some effort into that. AIG again, but I think Just Flight's going to win this one. I have this gut feeling, guys, and I'm really, really dumping my coins into Just Flight. So we'll see what happens. Orbix announces a South America mesh. Now, normally I don't advertise scenery, and that's not because I'm anti-scenery. It's just because there's so many of them. I would be doing this all day long if I was doing scenery. And I just don't like to single certain, sceneries out over others because I think everyone does a really great job. And the little bit that I have attempted to dabble in it, it's a pain in the backside to do, at least for me. The reason why I'm bringing this one out is because, again, it's the entire continent. You've got the entire continent of South America mesh, adding further detail to, obviously, South America. Now, giving the screenshots here, it looks like there's a lot of refinement in the lower terrain meshes and the upper terrain meshes, giving like for your mountaintops and then down on the low end, what I mean is this low end resolution, the low altitude resolution. Seems like there's a lot of enhancements, and I'm really hoping that that's exactly what's going on. Some of these pictures is a little hard to tell because a lot of them are so high altitude, but like this one's better. If you look over here in the corner, the trees are more defined than what we're used to seeing, I think. I can't tell right there if we're still seeing that stretchy, weird thing that we see with some of the trees, that don't belong in certain places that, around the globe in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Obviously the detail in the snow caps here, or the snowlands here, that's a given. That's definitely a big deal. But I'm seeing a lot of just the mountain sceneries. There we go. That's the picture I was looking for. Here is what I was talking about. So you're not seeing any of those stretching rocks that you see a lot of the times on the island, on the outskirts of some of the cities. So I'm hoping that that's what's being refined, even back there in the back that actually looks like a mountainside coming up versus, I hope you guys know what I'm talking about with that stretching, where it just looks like someone grabbed a tile and yanked it up out of the ground. And so it's all stretched and skewed and weird looking. It looks like they're resolving a lot of that for South America. That airport picture, this is another one that I wanted to make sure that I showcased. I think this was one of the bigger ones that caught my attention. That looks very, very nice, and the surrounding area is absolutely beautiful. And again, looking on the side of the mountains here, again, none of that stretching. It actually looks like a mountain, like a sunken airport, as we would expect to see. So I'm super excited for this, and I'm going to be very blunt, guys. I'm going to be very blunt. You guys know that I try not to pull any of my punches. That way you guys always know what you get from me is what I'm truly thinking. I'm not usually really a big Orbix fan, and my reason being is that normally it's hit and miss. You know, either you get something really good from Orbix, or you're expecting, yes, Orbix made this, and then it turns out, well, to be, let's just say, less than what you were anticipating. 1884. That is a absolutely reasonable price, I think, for an enhanced detail of South America. Now, obviously, they're not doing the entire continent. They never claim to be doing the entire continent. They're just simply stating that this is adding more detail and refining the mesh that's already there is the way that I'm reading this. But here we go, guys. We were talking about the old X-Plane 11 days, P3D days. There it is, 25 gig package. It has begun. So, you know, I was just talking about a few months ago, you know, we were talking about one of the advantages to Microsoft Flight Simulator was that you didn't have to have that external hard drive that had a ton of space. Now, with that being said, 25 gigs in the grand scheme is nothing compared to what we dealt with. I remember when I was on X-Plane 11, I tried to do my the satellite photogrammetry for all of Arizona. Yes, I said it. All of Arizona. Holy God. That thing was huge. I gave up very quickly and realized that was an epic mistake at the time. I think I was approaching 400 or 500 gigs to do it. It was insane. And it might have even been bigger than that. So 25 gigs, that's really nothing. However, if anything, that should actually be hopefully a fluffer to the work and the effort that was put into this, because when you take the fact that it already has satellite photogrammetry and they're putting another 25 gigs of detail on top of that, that could be a good sign, guys. So we'll see what happens. This is one I'm going to pick up. I have found myself flying in South America more and more lately. There's some very, very beautiful areas out there. So they caught my attention at the right time. So I'm definitely going to be picking this up as soon as it's available, and we'll see what happens. All right, talk about the ultimate tease. We have finally, after a long time of radio silence almost when it came to the A380, we have some further screenshots of the A380X from Flybywire. Now, we get two. And it's just, I want it. I like, they need to hurry up. It's not my birthday, but they don't know that. And I want the A380. This is going to be such an awesome aircraft. I cannot wait for this one. So, obviously, obviously that they have a ton of detail. I mean, that's just fly-by-wire, So I'm super excited for this particular aircraft. I cannot wait for this thing to come down the line. Fly-by-wire has done such a great job with the A320 and then all of their custom textures. We know what kind of detail we're going to be getting from this aircraft, and I cannot wait. I was hoping for more screenshots. I was hoping that we'd get to see a bit more of the aircraft, or at least get some further announcements as far as what was even, on the roadmap and what we could see coming and what we could expect over the next, 6 months to a year. I'm sure it's still going to be a long time before we see this aircraft in our hands, but man, I am hoping for it. This is the ultimate of the large jets, now the largest commercial airliner in the world, which is really sad. But we won't talk about the 225. That was such a marvel. Anyways, so a little bit of a tease from the A380, but it is nice to see that it is continuing in progress and that we are finally starting to get some further screenshot and further development reports. Hopefully, as the interior and the exterior textures come to completion, we'll start getting more updates about the system information and the status, and hopefully get some idea as to when we can expect to see this aircraft. Obviously, not going to try to put any further pressure on the fly-by-wire team. I'm just being one of those selfish guys who really wants this aircraft. This will be a fun one to do a guide on. It will be a fun one to fly. It's big, it's a heavy monster, and I cannot wait for this one. A new aircraft hits the skies for Microsoft Flight Simulator. The airplane heaven releases the Globe Swift GC-1A from Microsoft Flight Simulator. The Globe Swift was an aircraft that was developed shortly after World War II, and we are going to be getting two variants of this particular aircraft, one with 85 horsepower and then the more powerful 125 horsepower engine. The aircraft is a simple two-seater aircraft with only about 1,500 of them ever built. That's actually a really small amount when you think about it, especially the time frame in which it was built from. They've been around for a very, very long time. Now, this thing boasts a ton of very awesome features, obviously handcrafted modeling and textures, full PBR materials, and fully animated control surfaces and aircraft. The thing that catches my attention, as with any aircraft that boasts this, is the highly accurate flight dynamics and performance based on real flight tests. This is going to be one of those ones that we're going to be grabbing, and you guys know the line right below it is another big one for me. Specially authored WY's high fidelity sound package. You guys know that if you guys have been watching my channel for any length of time, I am a very, very big stickler about sound. I think it's crucial to the immersion, crucial to the experience. We will be showcasing this aircraft on the channel over the weekend, so stay tuned either Saturday or Sunday, guys, for a first impressions flight of this aircraft. I'm not going to call it a review. I'm really trying to step away from that word. I think it's an unfair word as someone who's not a pilot and hasn't flown that particular aircraft. So we will have a first impressions video coming out this weekend for anyone who might be on the fence about purchasing this particular aircraft. You guys will at least get to see it in action from my standpoint. If my opinion matters to you, then you'll get it that day. Look at the age of this cockpit. I mean, you sit in this thing and you go back in time. And I think that's a really hard thing to capture in simulation, is to be able to truly get the coloring right, get the shadowing right, get the texturing right, to where you really feel that nostalgia stepping into a cockpit like this on a simulator. And just from the picture, I think that they've nailed it. From the outside, I mean, it sort of reminds me of the tail dragger version of a Mooney. Or maybe what's the other one I'm trying to think of? Comanche? I hope I'm thinking the right aircraft. You have to forgive me. It's been a very long week. But once you step inside, like I said, the time changes. I mean, just everything about it. Almost, that front end, I mean, it looks like a boat. I mean, it looks like the cockpit of a boat. I like this. I really think that is a very unique way to do your, I guess, essentially, this is most likely the EFB. You obviously have your checklist here. You obviously have your options here. So rather than, throwing in a modern day tablet, they've gone with the clipboard style. And for some, they may be thinking, oh, come on, Mike, give me a break. It's a clipboard. Like, it's not that big a deal. To me, it is. These are the kind of things that I am passionate about. And I look for those immersion breakers, because and that's what simulation is all about. American Truck Simulator, your racing sims, if you're a racing sim, Air Combat Simulation, DCS World, Microsoft Flight Simualtor, it doesn't matter. That's what defines a simulator against a game, is do you get the immersion that you are in the era and you're in the aircraft and experiencing as best as can be experienced from simulation what a real world pilot at the time would be. And things like this, I think, are huge. I hate stepping into what is supposed to be an older aircraft and seeing a brand new, iPad in the cockpit or something similar to, so I love that kind of thing. And I think that was a very creative way to do that, especially just tossing it on the seat like that. I think that was awesome. I'm not really big into the unpainted chrome liveries, but I think this one sort of suits that aircraft and the time. This screams 1945. I'm sorry, or 1950s. You know what I mean? Especially even the old writing there. I love it. And that the cockpit, that sort of reminds me, if you take the rest of this off, right? If you just cut it off right here, close your eyes for a second, and then sort of squint and picture right here, kind of reminds me of an old, like a B-26. Or I don't think he used the B-26, but that aircraft from the movie Always, if you guys remember what Pete flew, for those of you who are old enough to remember the movie. Great movie if you guys haven't seen that, by the way. So I'm super excited to check this one out. We will definitely be doing that over the weekend. $21.95. I think that's absolutely a fair price, especially if it meets up to all of the features that are boasted here. $22. That's definitely within the realm of a highly accurate flight dynamically modeled aircraft. Gosh darn it. Let's move on. Now, I know that I do have a few DCS pilots on the channel. That's how this channel started, was with DCS content. So I did want to let everyone know that the new Mirage F1 has released for Digital Combat Simulator. This aircraft, from the videos that I have seen of it, are absolutely phenomenal. It does come up right now at $63.99 because it's in early access. A lot of people frown away from early access, but I want to give you guys the understanding with DCS World, it's not quite as bad as what you would expect from other simulators. When you hear that word, most of the functionality is still in the aircraft, and you do get it at a discounted price. And I will give you guys a little tip when it comes to early access aircraft in DCS World. One of the cool things about it, about not having a completely 100% fully modeled, fully complete aircraft, is it gives you time to step into it. It gives you time to grow with the aircraft. You know, you start out with the basics and you get the chance to sort of learn your way through until by the time it goes into full release, you're ready to fly. So anyways, if you guys are interested, make sure you guys pick that aircraft up. It is certainly going to be a ton of fun. It will be a little bit before I pick it up, but I will definitely be grabbing it. But obviously I have to pick and choose where the money goes, just like anybody else. And right now I've sort of bit off a bit more than I'm ready to chew anymore. So I sort of have to behave for a little while. There's just so much going on. But as always, guys, I truly hope that you enjoy this news and updates for the weekend. I hope you guys all had a wonderful week, and I hope you have an even better weekend. As always, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.